Hey everyone, Krikatsu here. Today we're going to talk about everything to deal with the new Phase 2 Dual Quest for PSO2 NGS. For starters, it works pretty much the same way as the Phase 1s from not too long ago. We just got to go to the quest counter to access it. You can find it in the Dual Quest tab, then it's the bottom option here. This requires a little bit more battle power from the previous ones, as this one is the current max level of 75 instead of level 70. In this quest, you get to face a new Starless boss enemy called Halvaldi, and it's quite an interesting fight because it is a new enemy, unlike the previous Phase 1s, which were all just the main bosses from each of the different regions. But the new enemy is the only main difference when going through the quest itself, as it has the same kind of conditions, where you only can go as one person or solo. You have 5 minutes to complete the quest, otherwise it fails. And there's no auto revive, so you need to use half scape dolls or the full scape ones with that AC currency to be able to continue going on, otherwise you're just dead. And then the unfortunate kicker with this quest that a lot of people were expecting, that you need to use Defi Augments again. For those that don't know, they're like super powerful augments that are only exclusive to this quest type. And this time around, it's a new set of Defi Augments that can only be used on this one quest, unlike the 4 from before. To show what I'm talking about here, I have two sets of gear that have these Defi capsules on them. So this is my previous gear with the Phase 1s. This has 7% potency and damage resistance plus 20% during a dual Phase 1 quest only usable for the main class weapon. So if I'm playing like Braver, I can only get these bonuses on Katana or Bow. But yeah, it's super big buffs there in comparison to the other augments, which are like half that and don't even have those big other bonuses like the damage resistance. And for the P.02 ones, or the Phase 2 capsules, they work pretty much the same way. Huge bonuses and potency, and a substat like the damage resistance here, just a little bit higher. And they're only exclusive to that Phase 2 quest and applies to your main class weapon. So you don't want to use it for anything else in the game but that quest. One saving grace with this is that it seems like the Defi 2s aren't as necessary for the Phase 2 quest as the Phase 1s were. Because when I was going through it with my core gear or my main set of gear, which has the capsules that you can use with anywhere, so this plus 70 katana with those augments, and then this plus 60 armor with those augments, I actually got a decent bit of the way through, about like 60%, and then I ended up dying, but didn't want to like revive myself with like a minute left. But you can get that far with just what I had, and this isn't even close to like min-maxing in the game with the core gear. So you might be able to pull it off if you got the 6 augments on your armor pieces here, unlike me, and then also higher augments, like maybe the XD capsules versus the Addies, the Gigas Mass Stay, whatever else that's higher potency. For me though, I just made a separate set of gear to clear it the first time. That just required like 7 or 8 of the Defi capsules with 30 seconds to spare at the end. Before we move on into talking about this new boss, as well as the rewards that you can get from this quest, let's finish talking about these Defi capsules and where you can obtain them. So there's 6 in total with these. A lot of them are the same from the Phase 1s. So there's the Airs that we already saw, potency plus 7%, and damage resistance plus 25%. All of these are going to have that same amount of potency. Then the next one is the Series with the offensive PP recovery plus 30% as a substat. The Makamis has potency floor increase plus 20%. That's an increase to minimum damage, which that's pretty nice. And we have the Homius, which gives increased PB gauge when attacking plus 50%. So for your photon blast gauge, just charge that faster. There's a new one here just for Phase 2, which is the Defi Sedness. This decreases the cooldown by 20%, so you don't have to wait as long for the PB, even if it's max charged. And then the final one, which is the Plutos, the most expensive, which gives critical hit rate plus 5%. I would say for these, just go for the cheap ones if you're just looking to clear this quest, like the Eris series and the Homius. The Sedness is also becoming a little bit cheaper as well, but the Plutos and Makamis are the usual expensive ones because they are just a direct increase to your DPS. But for where you obtain these currently, they can only be obtained in the Sonic LTQ that's going on for the next couple of weeks. So that can be found in the LTQ section of the quest counter, and then in the rewards of the level 70 version. You can see that down here. All the Defi capsules can be obtained, and it looks like you get 1 Defi guaranteed every time you run through this. If you want to check out the details of this quest, I talked about it in my previous video, so I'm not going to reiterate it here. But I think there's going to be more ways in the future to get these Defi 2s, just like the Defi 1s, since this isn't a permanent addition to the game. It's going to go away. I think in the next month in July, there's going to be another seasonal event which may have these as rewards. Then eventually there'll be a permanent way, just like I can get the phase ones in an exchange shop. There's one last friendly reminder with these things. Make sure to please use them on a separate set of gear and don't replace your main set's augment. So like here, I have my main sword here, the katana plus 70 with the generic augments that I can use for any piece of content. And then I have Defi's on a separate armor set and a separate weapon. So when I want to do the quest, I'll equip those, then go in. Now though, with that all out of the way, let's talk about the boss Halvaldi itself. You'll meet it in the caverns of South Aleo, where it will spawn with a ring of destroyable objects. The smaller ones are what you want to hit at first, as the four bigger ones opposite of each other only take 1 damage until they open up, exposing a weak point. While focusing on points of this circle, they can shoot at you, watch when they do a little glow, and try to avoid or counter them. Destroying the smaller ones can stagger the boss while it's attacking, but can also close an open weak point, so make sure to switch to those if you see one. If left open for too long, though, Halvaldi will shoot a laser from it while spinning in a circle. For the rest of Halvaldi's attacks, they can be quite varied, but are usually big AoE or sweeping attacks. All of these can be countered or sidestepped, and are choreographed to where you can learn them easily after a few attempts. One that threw me off a little bit was where it throws a spear in the air with a glowing circle on where it's going to impact. It actually takes quite a while for the spear to come down, so make sure to keep attacking before the ring on the ground flashes, indicating it's about to land. Another attack that can be bad is when it chooses to shoot lasers out of all of the big nodes in its circle spinning around while also shooting into the sky with the smaller nodes. I would stick to the ground and rhythmically sidestep or counter the lasers as they come up. I found that staying in the sky is just too random with trying to avoid the shots, but it still can be done. Once you attack it enough, it can get downed just like any other enemy in the game, where it falls to the ground and reveals a weak point on the chest. This occurs about 2 times every run, but you can get additional by using the Dark Element weakness to cause it to fall down as well. After about half its health is gone, it will enrage, becoming purple, where it will start hitting harder and spawn 2 drones that float above it, which fire separately from the boss. At the start of this enrage, its first attack will be throwing its circle away and doing 2 swipes at you. After that, it will use that circle to charge a laser directed towards you. You can either stand in front and try to counter it, or avoid it completely by sticking close to the boss. Personally, I like attacking its drones during this, which also does damage to Halvaldi, and they can be destroyed themselves. The rest of the fight is basically the same as the beginning, so keep on with the same tactics, and remember to spam your Photon Blasts, as you'll get them quite often if you put on the Homius and Sedness Defi capsule. That's basically it. If you finish Halvaldi off in 5 minutes, you'll be rewarded with various items, and a lot more if you did this for the first time. For the first clear rewards, you get this accessory, the Marauder Wings, on my back here, which is through a title, as well as 100 star gems as it shows with the first clear reward right here, which is pretty nice. For the regular rewards, though, you get this Duel Fuchsia every time guaranteed, based on the rank that you clear it at. So at a B rank, which is clearing it in general, you get 1 of these. With an A rank, which you get in 4 minutes or less, you get 2. And then with an S rank, you get 3 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds. These augments on their own are not very powerful, as they only give 1% potency, but their main purpose is to be used in the item lab to be combined with other augments to make a powerful augment, which we'll talk about after the rest of the rewards here. But yeah, for the rest, there is Might, Precision, Technique 3s and 4s, which doesn't really matter. The Duelable 3s and 4s, you can get Mastery 4 to drop in here, but that's quite rare. But you can also get, I don't know, kind of like uncommon in here is the Starl Souls, which are pretty important for that combined capsule. This capsule being the Gladia Soul. This can only be crafted, it can't be obtained anywhere else, and it gives 20 HP, 6 photon power, and 3.75% potency. That is really good right now. One of the top contenders for augments, and definitely the best soul that you can augment onto your gear. But this requires 10 of those Starl Souls, which can be gotten from any of the Starless in the game, including the boss in the Duel Quest Phase 2. And then it takes 10 of those Duel Fuchsias, which are exclusive to the Phase 2 quests, and then 30 Irati Soul 4s, which are obtained from the urgent quest Darkfall's Interception. This will definitely be a pricey capsule because of the required materials. The Starless Soul is just new right now and aren't dropped that often. And the Irati Soul 4s, you need 30 of them, and it needs to be done through the urgent quest or the trigger quest of that Darkfall's Interception, and that takes quite a while with only getting like 3 a run. Those two can be bought, but the Duel of Fuchsias you have to earn yourself if you want to make this Gladia Soul, as those are not sellable. But the Gladia Soul is sellable, so if you do want to just skip all that and just have somebody else do it, you can buy it there. But this is right now selling for like 3 mil. I know I sold mine for like 4 mil because I got into it early. But it's probably going to be a similar price as these Gigas Mass Days, at least for now. The reason why I just say for now is because the Gladia Soul's materials are pretty much just as materials not used on their own. The Starless Soul is only 3% potency, and the Ratty Soul 4 is 2.75%, when there's other alternatives in the Soul category that give more and are easier to obtain. And then for the Gigas Mass Day, the Gigas 4s are actually still used on gear because they're 3% potency and give some HP, and the only alternative is making this Gigas Mass Day. But a lot of people just don't want to make that and would rather just augment with these. Regardless of the pricing, though, both of these are needed for a min-max set of gear, and that shows that Phase 1 and Phase 2 are both things that you still want to do, and Phase 2 doesn't negate Phase 1. The one thing that I wish that Phase 2 had a little bit more of is more capsules to make, because Phase 1 can make the Gigas Mass Day and all of these trippables with those Fermito Fuchsias, and the Gladia Soul is the only thing from the Duel Quest Phase 2. But that's just, it is what it is. There is one more thing with the Phase 2, though, that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is another title which can give you more rewards. So if you go to the titles here, and go to Quest, Duel Quest, there's one for like S ranking, but that just gives 5-star gems. That's kind of like whatever, you need a lot of Defi capsules for that. The one that I want to talk about is actually the one where you have to complete it with 5 different classes. This gives you 5-star gems and a chick head mount, which can be seen on my character right now, which is sitting on my head, the little cute guy up there. But for completing it with 5 classes, you don't actually have to make 5 different sets if that's what you're worried about. You do need to have 5 classes leveled, which is probably the worst part about it if you aren't, close to that point already. Basically just get them to level 75 with the classes that you think you can complete the dual quests with. But then for this, you just gotta go make a set of armor with these Defi 2s in them, just like an amount that you think you can complete it with, and then have a cheaper weapon. I use the Griaga series here, and the reason why I do that is because it's cheap to upgrade. You can use the Ordinal Tower upgrade skip things if you want to. The ones that I'm talking about are the unlock substitutes right here for the potential, and also the limit break substitutes, so you don't have to spend your precious arms refiners. That actually works on, the 5 stars or up to 6 stars if you've gotten them through the Ordinal Tower and saved those. I know a lot of people just got rid of them, but you can use those to go around the material cost. And then once you do that, upgrade all of those, you can multi-weapon into different weapons and keep this as your base, as like your main class that you use. But for this, like I did Knuckles for Fighter as one of the classes, and then I did Sword as a multi-weapon, and then I also did Talus and used that both on Force and Tector. Another good option would be to do a Rifle, then you would have it for Ranger and Gunner if you're good with the rifle weapon. Why I'm choosing to multi-weapon with this, though, with every class clear, is because if you guys remember, is with these Defi capsules, they only apply to the main class weapon. So if I'm trying to do it with Fighter and like subclassing Braver and using Katana, I'm not getting these benefits on the Katana, so I'm going to do like no damage. I need to use the Fighter's weapons. Or like if I'm trying Force, I need to use the Force's weapons like Rod and Talus. Or the same thing with every other class. So this is the most effective way of doing it, instead of just making a whole new weapon every single class that you're going to try for this title. But if you don't care about this 5 class title thing for the 5 different classes, then I would just go to like a Neos weapon, because that would just be, the best one besides the 9-star series, which is basically impossible to get. But yeah, I would just use that with some Aegis Integra from the shop, just the basic one, or maybe like something else that you might want to sell if you want to just do it like the one time and give it to somebody else. But yeah, the reason why I also use this Griaga is that it actually keeps up in terms of attack power with 733. That's only like 100 some behind the Neos, but it also has a variance of 75% by default, unlike the 50% with the higher rarity weapons. So it kind of has the flat damage constantly, especially if you have the Defi Makamis, which gives you a ton of floor potency. as shown right there. So basically capped off in terms of that. You'll be just doing the highest damage that you can do at all times. Then also with the potential sixes, they have increased a ton for these lower end weapons. This was like 10% lower before, so like 20 something percent, but then I got that big jump to level 6. Yeah, hopefully you're good with enough weapons to be able to do this, and then you can finally get some chicks on your head there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this entire Duel Quest Phase 2, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.